have that removed perspective.
I guess when you were the manager
really
or the captain, maybe that happens.
The captain of
a
what
little
team?
bit more. Exactly.
I've never been the captain of a team.
Oh man! Well, here we go right into the draft. This is game 2 of the third series with Rising Lotus and Tsunami. We do see Samuel coming off the board. Tsunami getting rid of Taka, so another kind of specific ban for a specific reason. As Lance comes is first pick on the side of Lotus.
Yeah, we got Lyra Adagio available. You think could be the double power pickup here? I mean,
it could be.
Lot of power.
I mean, double heal is something we generally don't recommend you give to the other team, but if you do, have something to play into it, please.
It's a new patch. You know, both of these heroes had their sustain nerfed a little bit, so perhaps Rising Lotus doesn't value it as highly anymore. Just thinking about that Taka man, maybe one of you guys knows, Just Man is quite a prolific Taka player, isn't he?
Yeah, I believe he is. Yeah. I mean, and the other thing is if you're going to get rid of the Taka, then obviously you're going to want to play around a specific kind of squishier carry that wants to be in the back line. They don't want to get jumped on. They don't want to have anyone kind of breaking through the front lines. But Rising Lotus answers and says, we don't really have anyone that wants to sneak our way into the back line. We're going to go with a really heavy poke comp, and of course Lance to sit there with his Githian wall to protect us. And Celeste is the final pick from Tsunami.
I mean, it all boils down, right, to how effective double heal is. They're in a good spot. They're looking to secure themselves a spot in day 2. Let's find out if they can with Excoundrel and Sona.
Thank you very much, my 3 beautiful men on the analyst desk. I'm again here with Sona. We're coming into this second game of the best of 3, and like we said, Rising Lotus have come into this and have taken a game away from Tsunami. Now, Tsunami haven't been on top form recently, Sona, but I want to point out the Rising Lotus squad has been completely changed around.
Well, they still have Keanu in there, but they have added Justman and Lua as well, so they have a really strong lineup now, and I wouldn't be surprised to see them being the sort of SKG2 Mouse Sports level who do get through to the second day of the Evil 8 split consistently and are challenging for that third, fourth / final position at the end of the time.
Now, what's important to note here, Sona, is this is the Rising Lotus squad that originally had Rising Lotus in a top tier position. Yeah. This is the squad that made them the name in European Vainglory, and they've brought them back. This could be huge for their potential to compete in the Evil 8 this split. We could see a revitalized Rising Lotus coming through. We could see them contesting for those top spots. We could even see them potentially make a run for Worlds. That's not even overstating it, because Justman, you know, he was one of the original players that made the Rising Lotus guys what they are, or what the sort of organization was meant to be, you know.
I think you have to remember that there are, I agree with you, obviously they do have that shot, but you have to wonder about how well they're going to play consistently at Evil 8 level, how well they're going to play into strong lineups like Snow Avalanche, like Snow Tsunami, like Secret, like Gangstars. Yeah, Gangstars do not have a world spot yet, and I know they'll be really pushing to win that split 2 of the Evil 8 and get that position in Worlds, and I wouldn't be surprised if we do end up seeing Gangstars actually taking that spot.
Yeah, so this is, I think only time will tell, right? They're doing pretty well against Snow Tsunami, and let's not forget, they were Spring Live Champions runner-up. So this is not a kind of like a bottom tier team they're fighting with. These guys made it to the Summer Live Championships. So they're currently doing, if this was the original Rising Lotus squad, they probably wouldn't have even been given a chance in hell versus Snow Tsunami. But now they have. And now they're taking a game. And if they're to come out here and win again, they're going through to tomorrow. Which is a pretty big deal for Rising Lotus going into what is a very important split of the Evil 8, because let's not forget, we've got Worlds around the corner, Sona. We have got Vainglory Worlds. I want to really, really put that into perspective. World Championships. That is a huge, huge tournament to look out for. It is going to be ridiculous. We're going to get that final settlement between the true who is better, North America or Europe, or even some of the Eastern Asian regions too. Let's not forget things like Invincible Armada still exist.
They do. Incredibly strong team. I think they were just picked up by Team Phoenix, actually, Invincible Armada. So it's Phoenix Korea and Phoenix North America now. They've got 2 separate lineups for Team Phoenix. which is an interesting one in all honesty. It's not. We haven't seen many of the North American teams or the European teams being picking up teams across the pond like that. Just man, slight misclick there maybe with the Impale, not quite where he meant to position it, and takes a lot of pain in return. We'll get forced back behind this turret, and already Snow Tsunami take the first turret of the game, pushing Rising Lotus back to that second tier turret in the lane.
So it's a lot of pressure being put down originally. I mean, obviously, you'd expect that with an Adagio. You know, your ability with Celeste to clear waves and then put pressure onto turrets is very strong. So I'm fully expectant that turrets are going to become a real issue for Rising Lotus. They don't exactly have the most reliable wave clearing lane. Celeste really isn't that good at clearing hordes of minions rushing down the lane. So yeah, I mean. This is a good pressure from Snow Tsunami. They're already starting to turn things around just that little bit, and obviously if they win this, they take this to another best of 3. I mean, this could be a full day of total best of 3s here on the Halcyon Fold. This could be pretty huge right now in terms of the crazy scale of things of the first day of our autumn season.
Definitely could be pretty huge. Already we see Snow Tsunami taking a lead in this game though. 1,000 gold ahead. Siska's going to get impaled here. Githyan Wall comes out, but the Bright Bulwark is well placed. Will stop Loa and Keanu being able to chase onto it. Just man taking so much pain in return. This is always the problem with Lance. If you're not getting out safely, it's so easy for a team like an Adagio and a Lyra just to chase you down and force you to take most of your HP on that retreat.
Absolutely. So already the pressure, big stacked minion waves, the wave clear just needed from Loa. You can see him doing it from the side there. He's really trying to put as much pressure onto those minion waves as a total with that forward barrage. But you just see, oh my word, destroyed. Not even the word for it. PT Lamb picks up a kill there onto Keanu Naku. And honestly, just Snow Tsunami turning the switch up to another level, realizing that actually this is a real fight they've got on their hands. So
they've got such aggressive length to their harass that they've got here because of the Helios, because of the ability of Adagio with that long range auto attack just to push people back, and the Lyra with the Principal Arcanum. It's so easy for them just to stand back in that lane and push and push and push and stop Rising Lotus being able to get anything out of their jungle, being able to get anything out of the rest of the map because they have to stay in the lane just defending turret after turret. Now we see the alternating current being finished onto Zeraxi. PT Lamb's gone Shatterglass first on this Celeste, and it's so difficult for Rising Lotus to actually play against this Snow Tsunami draft.
My issue right now is that I don't know if Rising Lotus have enough to deal with the kiting pressure and the control that Snow Tsunami are bringing. You've literally only got this Lance. I know he's making an impact onto Sisiska here, but Sisiska just runs straight through. I don't know if there's enough from Rising Lotus. You know, even with the nerfs to Sky, I think Bright Bulwark becomes infinitely more powerful versus Sky in that situation too. I kind of think that Rising Lotus don't really have the all-in potential against A, Celeste, and B, an Adagio. I really don't think they do so. No, I think that Lance is going to get kited pretty readily, and you can see, by the way, that I think that the PT Line will pick up a Frostburn at some point and make that almost impossible for Lance to get any work done. But also just the flat CC that you're providing with Verse of Judgment when it's needed to be used. You've got Core Collapse, and obviously the Bright Bulwark restricts all movement throughout teamfight situations. I just feel like Celeste and Adagio are going to go almost untouched, and if they have to receive some sort of pressure, it'll probably be from Sky, and then that puts her in an awkward position.
Oh, one shot, one kill onto Sisiska. Githyan Wall knocks PT Lamb back into the death from above, and that's huge here for Rising Lotus. They've already taken down one member. They're going to look towards Araxi as well. Forward barrage comes out from Lur. Not perhaps the best position. Burst is going to be used, but Lur is able to use those boots to get himself away from it. The Adagio will fall. Lyra, the last man standing here. Sisiska, the only one able to get away from Rising Lotus, and the gold mine is just about fully stacked as well, so Rising Lotus get themselves straight back into the game.
I feel like that was just a flat-out mistake from Snow Tsunami. I don't like to call that out in those kind of situations, but I just feel like it was Sona. And they basically walked into a brush that they had no vision of. They ran their entire ranged comp into melee range of the Lance and allowed themselves to get a multiple-man impale down. It was just a flat-out mistake from Snow Tsunami. That kind of teamfight should just not happen for them. They basically ran in expecting the retreat from Rising Lotus, and that was a good job by Rising Lotus to turn around and say, we don't need to retreat, we just make an engage happen here. I think, punished. Rising Lotus just punished Snow Tsunami there against something that if they play with good vision control, just shouldn't happen.
And now we start to see a little bit of shield coming out as well from Rising Lotus, so they know what they're building into. You know, you've got double crystal power on the side of Snow Tsunami. You've got the alternating current, you've got Broken Myth finished on PT Lamb as well. If you can get a bunch of shield underneath your belt, it makes it almost impossible for Snow Tsunami actually to put down consistent damage. Yes, you've got Supernovas. Yes, you've got Agent of Wrath buffed auto attacks, but as soon as Rising Lotus get to a position where they've got Aegis on both Keanu and Lure, I think it's going to be very, very difficult for Snow actually to win out these fights.
So Snow Tsunami again getting dangerously close to the Lance right now. They still have the chance. I mean, even with that setback, they're still even on gold, right? And they still have the, I would say, superior composition to fight against what Rising Lotus are bringing to the table. They can still kite against the Kestrel so well. If Sky commits, they can punish her. They just need to not get greedy. They need to make sure they are really respecting Lance. I think that's the main thing. The main thing you do here as Snow Tsunami is just respect what Lance can do. Don't get into a position where it becomes an issue for you. Just respect Lance, and everything will be K.
Is there an argument for Frostburn here on PT Lamb? He's not building towards it. Looks like he's getting an Eve next. But if you're about kiting backwards and if you're about trying to just slowly work the enemy team down, would a Frostburn be more effective than perhaps going towards something like an Eve?
I think a Frostburn would definitely be effective. But then again, it's how I don't think it'll be effective in the sense that as long as you don't get close enough to Lance, I don't think it'll matter that much. It'll only be effective once War Treads and that kind of build path starts to become an issue. But War Treads aren't there yet for Just Man, so yeah, I don't think it'll be an issue until they actually start to get punished by movement speed coming out from Lance. But it's whether that actually happens, and it's whether they have their own movement speed to combat it. You know, say they get their own War Treads, which I think Lyra has. I can't see exactly what Lyra's got. I think she might just have tier 1 right now.
Yeah, she's only got tier 1s.
Yeah, so if she gets War Treads and counteracts it, then it might be okay. Or, you know, you War Treads and you go directly into Aversive Judgment. But, oh wow, they all get locked up. This is bad.
PT Lamb has the death from above. There's the Gittian wall as well. Fountain's been used, but Sasiska will fall. And now Araxi, the target's going to get taken out as well. PT Lamb has no place to go. Picks up 1 for his troubles, but Rising Lotus get the ace. Take down all 3 members of Snow Tsunami incredibly quickly.
Again, it's not respecting that Lance. You know, you're wandering into the enemy jungle. You're not maintaining good vision of where Rising Lotus are coming from. If Lance lands an Impale, or especially if it was like a 3-man Impale, that just should not happen for Snow Tsunami. You know, I'm talking about the way that Snow Tsunami win this, but they're doing the only things that they can do wrong to lose these fights is not respect Lance's range and walk in and get impaled. And that 3-man Impale is just going to result in you getting blown up, like instantaneously. But your composition just shouldn't be in a position where 3-man Impale ever becomes a thing. But it is.
No, definitely not. We see the second gold mine going down as well for Rising Lotus. It's odd, though, because draft-wise, you look at this and you say you've got double heal on the side of Snow Tsunami, you've got Celeste there as well with the range. They shouldn't be engaged on in that sort of manner. They should be able to just run away, but...
Exactly.
Snow Tsunami just mispositioning totally there and letting Rising Lotus come in from the side and be able to push them out.
Exactly, and that's the point. It's all about positioning right now for Snow Tsunami. You know, you play this from the lane. You maintain good vision of the jungle. Every time you fight in the jungle, you make sure you have eyes on their Lance. You know, 24/7. Sorry, I just dropped. I don't know if that came through on stream, but I dropped my iPad. You maintain good vision of their Lance, and you'll be fine. You let their Lance run at you and use his Impale with the War Treads now, by the way, which actually is going to be huge because there isn't the Crucible. For Snow Tsunami. They went for the Atlas Pauldrons, which I will talk about that in a second because that just strikes me as totally odd. But there's no Crucible right now. Reflex Block, it doesn't exist on PT Lamb either. And there isn't really that much else there in terms of protection. So Justman could just do something like this.
Impale onto PT Lamb. Death from above is not going to connect though, and now Rising Lotus do need to be a little bit careful. Solar Storm comes out. They're trying to put the damage down onto Sasiska, but this is where if you don't burst down PT Lamb, you're just doomed. Absolutely doomed in the fight because of the double heal.
I don't feel like Rising Lotus had a realization that that was actually going to happen. So I don't think they expected to land a double impale in that situation. But you know, usually Death from Above would be a little bit snappier. You want to get impaled directly into Death from Above, start chaining the CC as best you can, and then try and burst someone out. And with the well, interestingly enough, with the builds they've gone, they haven't really gone for a burst Kestrel, but, you know, as soon as they get the upper hand and start forcing PT Lamb and everyone to run away, that's kind of in a situation where things look better for them. Crucible now
Tsunami
exists, by
have
the way.
just infused, though. They've got an infusion sitting on Araxi, and there's one in PT Lamb's inventory as well, so maybe they're looking for something here. Impale onto PT Lamb once again. There's the bright bulwark. Death from Above not used yet. Now it's all in a line. They're not going to be able to connect onto anyone. PT Lamb putting the Helio down time after time. Keanu off towards the side. There's the burst of judgment being used out by Araxi. Keanu's going for the chase. Solar Storm not going to be used quite yet. The core collapse is down. There's the Solar Storm straight onto Just Man. Lure takes a little bit of pain off towards the side as well. One shot, one kill. Just connects on towards Araxi. Looked like that was going to miss, but the Adagio has fallen. And Rising Lotus starting to play their own song in this game, looking for this gold mine before it times out.
Hey, Sono, do you know what item might have been useful on a Celeste there?
I'm gonna say an Aegis.
Yeah, that would have been useful. But also a Frostburn would have been useful, because that fight went so long that actually PT Lamb had opportunity to control the pace of everybody trying to look for a flank. You know, that entire fight was lost because Keanu was able to make a flank happen with Just Man round the side. And then got a one-shot, one-kill that unfortunately Araxi walked into. Had a Frostburn been there, you know, Keanu probably never gets into that position. You know, that pace, they would be able to kite backwards and then stop the entirety of Rising Lotus in their tracks. But Rising Lotus have got the idea where they've gone for a Frostburn because they realise they need to slow the members with Forward Barrage. They need to be able to slow the members of Snow Tsunami. So any crystal power damage that they land onto their members, they're starting to get the slowdown, which makes it easier for Lance to land his impales, makes it easier for Kestrel to position to make a pick. And they've realised that control is important. Snow Tsunami are just like, burst. We just want to burst, we want more damage. They're not really thinking about what sort of, I guess, protection can do for them. But somehow they ended up with Kraken here. I didn't quite see.
Yeah, that's what I'm looking at. Like, Rising Lotus get the gold mine back away, and then Snow Tsunami was just like, okay, we'll take the Kraken. Oh, three-man move once again. Gideon Wall comes out. Lure does step into the bright bulwark, though. He takes a huge amount of pain. The Kraken's still pushing it. Death from Above has been used. Araxi is the target. Bounty's going to heal him up, but now Keanu's off towards the backside of the fight. Goes into the burst there as well. Araxi putting so much pain down, and PT Lamb will actually get the first kill of the game on towards Lure. Now PT Lamb has just fallen off towards the side. So Siska chases down Keanu. Not quite enough to take him out. Araxi versus Just Man. I have to feel Araxi wins this one out. We'll take him down. Keanu needs to get away, needs to get back to base to stop this Kraken pushing in. And it looks like Siska's not going to be able to find him out. However, Araxi is pushing in. He's on at that Adagio. It's up to Keanu to try and take down this Adagio before he can take down the turret. But with the Kraken there, he'll be able to get it pretty easily. Araxi will fall. And now Keanu's going to turn his attentions across towards the Kraken.
So, I think at this point we're getting to the area where Shatterglass is on Adagio. There's actually large amounts of health values on Lyra as well. So you're actually starting to get decent heals out of your double heal composition. Which is important, because that Shatterglass makes up a little bit for those ratio nerfs that Adagio received, and you're actually starting to see the sustain come into its own. You know, that cooldown on the sigil will be reducing slightly. You'll have the cooldown on the Gift of Fire also coming down a little bit. The Shatterglass gives you the boost in terms of flat CP, so the lower ratios kind of make it up to where it was previously. And even though the Impales are landing now, the sustain is starting to come through for this double heal composition. They're starting to find their footing in terms of the ability to out-heal the damage that comes through from the Rising Lotus squad. So even with these three-man impales, it actually looked really good for Rising Lotus for the most part of that fight. Keanu found a really good flank position. And the best thing to do against Skye is split your team up so that you're coming at multiple angles. You know, you're coming in to deal damage at multiple angles. So it makes it hard for her to really think about where to prioritize her heliogenesis.
Can we talk about builds for a second? Because Just Man has decided to go for Atlas Pauldron here on the Lance. And it can seem like a little bit of an odd build because it's all armor and there's no weapon power on the enemy team. Explain to us why you would go Atlas Pauldron in this sort of game.
Specifically to just deal with alternating current. The main damage output of realistically, the main damage output of an Adagio who goes into a damage source is the alternating current. So you want to slow that attack speed as much as possible. Double root comes through.
There's the impale onto 2 members. Keanu's trying to get off towards the backside. Once again, PT Lamb, the target. Keanu needs to get away from the burst. Another impale onto PT Lamb, but he lands the double Helio and the core collapse. And that is 1 member of Rising Lotus dead already. Snow Tsunami able to chase down Justman and Lure here as well. Justman's going to jump back in, but look at the heals. Look at the heals coming out from Araxi. It's another kill over to Snow Tsunami. The Kraken has spawned, and they can look to take her back once again, or they can just push towards the base here, which actually might be what they're going to do.
I think they were thinking about it, but actually it's probably safer to secure the win totally despite death timers with just taking the Kraken off the map. Again, I think there was a point where getting these kind of engages for Rising Lotus would have been absolutely fantastic, but now the sustain is just too heavy. The damage output of Araxi is through the roof as well, so even if Keanu finds a flank position, he is extremely susceptible to these basic attacks coming out from Adagio. You're getting to late game Celeste build. You know, there was this option as the game was sort of in the mid game where you could have pushed harder, tried to siege harder here as Rising Lotus, but now you're at a position where this double heal is coming into its own once more.
Once again, we see Rising Lotus looking for the engage. The Kraken's going to push in here. They've only got 1 Vein Crystal turret remaining. Remember, PT Lamb dodges out the route. That burst is so powerful. Keanu not able to do much at all as it actually melts him down incredibly low. He's going to try and re-engage here, but he has to back away from the damage coming out from PT Lamb, who takes a lot in return. Actually, a good Githian wall, but Death from Above's not quite going to connect. The Kraken's still pushing in here. The Kraken's just going to take the base. PT Lamb may fall. Yes! Actually, Justman trying to chase him down. PT Lamb will fall. We do also see Allure falling as well on the side of Rising Lotus. Justman's going to try and keep Araxi away from the fight, but the Kraken's pushing in. It's already taking this crystal down to half, and Keanu is all by himself to try and take it out. There's not really much he can do here at all. That Kraken's going to take the base. It's going to take the crystal. And Rising Lotus are going to fall to Snow Tsunami here. It's going to be 1-1 in this best of 3 once again today.
Yeah, again, there was this small period of time where Rising Lotus had the opportunity to beat the composition from Snow Tsunami only if they managed to land these impales, which realistically were only going to come through having either war treads and catching Snow Tsunami off guard, or if Snow Tsunami made some of those mistakes you saw earlier in terms of positioning and lack of vision and disrespecting the kind of impact the engage from Lance can have. But as the game progressed, the double heals got more and more strong.
Eventually, Celeste just came online and did such a good job of keeping track of the Kestrel, because once Kestrel's into you, like inside the line of your max range Helios, and Breaking Point is stacked up, that's when it becomes easier for her. Well, you saw like at the end, and you were keeping track of how many attacks she got off, but she's attacking from max range and using glimmer shots a lot of time because she couldn't get through those supernovas. So I think a lot of credit to Celeste there.
7 to 8 attacks won't get you a win in Vainglory, but we'll see if they can bring themselves back into this game in the 3rd match of the 3rd series today. Rising Lotus getting rid of the Samuel, letting the Adagio go over and picking up possibly a Lance. Oh, nope, last little switcheroo to that Lyra.
Could be a Lance Lyra still. I mean, it's interesting to me that Snow banned out Saw. That feels like it must be targeted, right?
I would assume so. Perhaps they think that if a Saw kind of being pulled out last minute in a push comp style could take an easy victory to push them to day 2, and they don't want that.
Either that or it's just the superb mind games of which they're just tilting out their opponent right now.
They're tilting out you with that Ozo hover to the last second.
Why does everybody do that? Everybody hovers over that Ozo. I think it's like, just click on a hero you're not going to pick. And so we can see all the other heroes lit up.
Oh, man.
Oh, no.
But we do see the Lance come through, so the Lyra and Lance, 2 extremely powerful roams, no longer available to the side of Tsunami. We do see the Kestrel get picked up. I do think Kestrel with the Adagio and Sky is an interesting draft. It looks like they probably will drop the Adagio into the roam position, kind of flexing it down.
I think Sky is a really interesting 3rd pick, because against Lyra and Lance it can kind of struggle. So I wonder what Snow Tsunami's plan is to make it work this game.
Yeah,
Rising Lotus also, they're picking up a Ringo last, we have not seen much of recently.
We have not. So we basically have, I don't know, both sides.
Find out if the analysts are right as we hop onto the Halcyon Fold for the 3rd game of our 3rd series. Snow Tsunami up against Rising Lotus, both looking to make their way into day 2. Let's pass it on over to Excoundrel and Sona.
Thank you so much, Jackson and guys on the desk. It is this final game. It's another best of 3 series, all the way to the money. On every single series today has been super high quality, super high level of competition between every team thus far, and it's pushed us well into over schedule at this point in time, Sona. But it doesn't matter because this is going to be an exciting game here between Snow Tsunami and Rising Lotus.
That it is, and I think the big question you have to ask is this a Crystal Power Ringo? That is my major question here, because Lance is definitely going to go weapon, although he has been ever so slightly buffed along that Crystal Power route. Are we going to see the Crystal Ringo come out, or is it just going to be double weapon from Rising Lotus? And recently we have not seen double weapon be as powerful as it could be.
I think against this particular composition, I think the Crystal would make more sense. I definitely think with Swift Shooter there, you have the option for going to alternating current build, which I think with a Lance makes more sense. You probably don't want to go full Crystal Power in this situation, so going for the alternating current gives you a more consistent source of damage that can follow up on Lance's Impales. But against high priority targets like Adagio, Kestrel, Sky, I genuinely think that the Crystal Power Ringo, the Hellfire Brew, can be super impactful, so I'm fully expecting to potentially see that Crystal Power Ringo come through. I think it makes a little bit more sense. Interesting that we have another Roam Adagio, again against a composition that's going to require some element of peeling, although not so much. I think it really depends on how we see Lyra's ultimate used here, Sona.
I think it's a big thing, because if Lyra's trying to jump in and trying to help that Lance engage, it allows for a really easy verse to come out from Sisiska. And verse, yes, isn't powerful when you haven't built that Crystal Power, but can be actually really strong just to use up the Crucibles to stop the enemy team being able to advance as they'd like to. If, however, the Lyra's being used as a defensive tool, helping the Ringo try and escape, and Lance is just there as the front line, then it's a lot more difficult for the Adagio actually to do too much in these fights, because we saw in the last games, you know, his heals just aren't as strong as they used to be, and we don't tend to see Roam Adagio. Well, I say, from our one-game sample size that we've seen, Roam Adagio is nowhere near as good as he used to be.
Yeah, but it really depends on how much health you decide to stack, because if you stack some health, then your heals still have some sort of effect. Actually, look at this. Keanu goes for the flank here.
Oh, Justman took too much damage, really, for Keanu to be able to do too much. Lur's going to step forward. Githian walls Araxi away. Justman took a little bit of pain, obviously, earlier on. And Lur, those Glimmer Shots doing so much work already from Araxi, who's got his own heavy steel, to add some bang behind his butt.
So he's picked up the heavy steel already. That's going to have a pretty big impact when it comes to any of these early game skirmishes we see between these two squads. It is going to be Crystal Power Ringo, but may not be going down the alternating current path. He has picked up double crystal bit, and I think that's an energy battery too, so who knows where we see him move first. It would realistically, the two first items you generally tend to see on Crystal Power Ringo is either the alternating current path or the Shatterglass path, so I don't imagine that that energy battery is going to be thinking about anything like an Eve of Harvest, for instance. Not necessarily sure that Eve of Harvest.
Yeah, I think Eve of Harvest doesn't really make a huge amount of sense. He's got Blazing Salvo now as well, so I expect it to be an alternating current that we were talking about. Sometimes you just pick up the energy battery because Achilles Shot and Twirling Silver do use a lot of energy, and so it's nice just to keep yourself sustained in the lane on that side.
Nice route onto Araxi, but no one to there to follow up. Actually going to force some pots to come out here. You've got to remember this is Weapon Power Lance, and it looks like he's going towards that Tension Bow instead of the Sorrow Blade that you often tend to see Lances pick up. I know you've got a lot of opinions on that, Sona. How do you feel about this? Do you think Tension Bow makes more sense, a little more burst that they're needed?
I think that's always the strength of it, and Githian Wall it counts as an auto attack as well, so every time you're using that you're getting your Tension Bow procs, so it can be quite powerful. I'm a roam main, so when I play Lance I tend to get the Sorrow Blade eventually. Unless I get really far ahead, then Tension Bow makes a little bit more sense. I feel early game Tension Bow is a lot more powerful, but as you get later on, Sorrow Blade just gives you a little bit more guaranteed damage as opposed to the Tension Bow.
Absolutely. So, I mean, as this game goes on, I'm not really sure who I favour. I would think that, you know, the consistent late game damage output of PT Land may give Snow Tsunami a slight edge, but I just don't feel like they have the protection needed. Oh, Lur's going to have to run away. He doesn't have combat roll yet.
He does not have combat roll, but he can knock PT Land back, and maybe they can trade 1-for-1. No, they can't. Just Man not able to keep his jungler alive, and Snow Tsunami pick up the first blood of the game.
Here we go, Rising Lotus. Lightly put on edge here. Remember, to be honest, in late game, Crystal Power Ringo is pretty solid, Sona. You know, he's actually a decent late game CP power carry. And combine that with the Lance, you know, you have the ability to burst people out pretty quickly with the Hellfire Brew too. And against, I think you'd likely be prioritizing Sky. So take out Sky, then you kind of leave Snow Tsunami stuck in the mud. But remember, with Kestrel, you do always have that Agent of Wrath from Adagio too, which still is impactful as a Roam Adagio. You still can have huge impact with the Agent of Wrath. And I like to see it on a ranged carry as well. I always feel like they make the most use out of it. You know, you always feel like they're going to be landing those basic attacks more readily. They'll probably make full use out of the 6 basic attacks I think you get out of it at the if you don't overdrive that ability. 7 if you do, I believe. So, you know, it's good to see Kestrel in combination with this Roam Adagio. I think she will make very good use of the Agent of Wrath. Just can't help but feel that as this game progresses, you feel like if anyone gets locked up in an Impale from the Lance, they're probably going to suffer for it.
Well, they definitely are. Got so much strength coming out from Rising Lotus to take down one member. My worry always is, and it's always a worry for me with CP Ringos, that Hellfire Brew is so easily battable with a good Crucible, with a good reflex block. Yes, you don't get rid of all of the damage, but you can block out a vast majority of it, and it makes it so difficult for Rising Lotus to actually follow up on anything. And it's such a long cast time as well, so even if you land an Impale and catch someone out, the question is, well, do I use my Achilles shot, or do I use a CP scaling on those, or do I go for Hellfire Brew and try and get big burst damage down? And unless you're really well coordinated with your team, it makes it incredibly difficult for you as a team to make those decisions on the fly.
Absolutely. What impact will the Verse of Judgment have, though? I think that also depends whether we see Just Man go heavy towards a Crucible. I'm going to sneeze. Stop myself from sneezing.
Man.
No stress. I was going to try and mute my microphone, didn't get there in time. We tried, boys.
Tried one shot, one kill, tries to hit onto Keanu Nakoa, and is able to do it. And now Snow Tsunami actually in a really good position in this game. They have the advantage over an experience. Lure not quite able to connect with that Impale by Bulwark comes down, but here comes the death from above, and Lure is caught off towards the side. Or Barrage enough to take him down. PT Lamb doing great work on that CP Sky. Here's the Hellfire Brew. Does actually damage all members of Snow Tsunami there. No reflex blocks or crucibles on them yet, but look at it, just sustain it up. Able to keep themselves alive with the fountain and then just back themselves away.
This is one of the problems with Lance into a heavy ranged composition as well, though, that if you do jump in with Impale and your team aren't able to follow up and get anything out of it, you put yourself in such a dangerous position, especially as a non-roam Lance. You know, you don't often have a heavy investment into any form of
Keanu, well out of position, got flanked there by Snow Tsunami. Justman tries to take the Arcane Passage away and will escape, but another kill for Snow Tsunami as they flank Keanu in lane.
Well, you know, it's a good flank from Snow Tsunami. They're looking dominant here at 3-0, stretching their gold lead out to almost 1,000. This is one of the problems with Weapon Power Lance, and as you'll know it very well, Sona, if you commit with the Impale and you don't get anything out of it, you don't have the defensive itemization that you do as a roam Lance to really give yourself the backup plan. There is no backup plan, you know, as a Weapon Power Lance. When you commit, and then you have to combat roll out at the very worst. Just isn't able to do that at the moment. He's not got that reflex block. He's not got the kind of defensive options that if he, well, it's a lot of damage onto PT Lamb right now, but if he does commit, you know, as a Weapon Power Lance, he's going to get punished for it right now. Need to really see him think about a reflex block, see him think about some sort of item. So Siska gets locked up, Soda.
Yeah, but with the fountain, just heals himself back up and is able to back away. Like, Lure is building towards the Solar Blade second item, which I think if you're going down Tension Bow first, you do need the Solar Blade as backup, and one shot, one kill will connect there again. It's just not enough damage. If you can't burst through the Roma, especially someone like a Roam Adagio, he has got an Atlas Pauldron, so he is actually a little bit tanky into weapon power, but
he's
just not doing enough.
Yeah. He's also overdrive Gift of Fire. Also has, like you said, had the Atlas Pauldrons and also had the Fountain there. So he used almost every defensive option available to him.
Hellfire Brew into Impale. That's exactly what you need to do. That was perfectly timed. Worked superbly well, and because you know there's no Crucible, you know there's not... Well, I mean, there was a reflex block on PT Lamb, but he decided not to block out that Hellfire Brew there. really well done there by Rising Lotus, and they'll get the gold mine off it as well. So starting to get themselves back into this game.
Fountain had been used as well, so I think he realised there wasn't many options for him to survive. But they do pick up the gold mine, which gives them that little bit of gold back in their back pockets. Still 1,000 gold behind, though, however, so still a bit of work to do. But like you said, that's the combination that you need to see happen. Essentially, this entire sort of composition hinges on Lance hitting an impale. If Lance doesn't hit an impale, you almost feel like that they're up something creek without a paddle. I won't fill in that extra word. But you know, that's the risk that you take when you run a weapon power Lance. You need to be fully sure that your skill shot abilities are at 100% accuracy.
Oh, Keanu has just finished up his Broken Myth, so he'll have a lot of power coming out from that Crystal Power Ringo now. PT Lamb backing away once again, takes a bit of pain. There's the Impale, does land, and now they can look for any more damage if they want it. Still 30 seconds on that Hellfire Brew, though. Not going to be able to use it quite yet. Rising Lotus looking for the fight once again, trying to push down this turret if they can, but really the clear out of Snow Tsunami is incredibly powerful. If they use it effectively, they can stop any advance from Rising Lotus.
And I think that's what they need to do. They need to make sure that they're consistently looking to clear waves, forward barrage, try and slow them down, allow Glimmer Shot to do its thing. You know, Snow Tsunami's siege isn't fantastic, although PT Lamb oversteps his boundaries and Keanu really starts to put the pressure down. Here comes the Hellfire Brew. Oh, no, it doesn't. I thought it was. It looked
Here
like
comes the Hellfire Brew, mate. Great job.
It looked on my phone like he was about to take a swig of his brew. No.
It hasn't used it yet. Impale on towards Araxi. So Siska is in the front line, but Lure takes a huge amount of pain. Keanu standing in that bush, looking to see if he wants to use that Hellfire Brew just quite yet. Decides against it. They will back away. Actually, Araxi is not going to get spotted out here. They'll take the Treant away. Lure will be able to get himself away towards safety. And Rising Lotus once again can look to push towards this turret. They haven't done any damage to it yet, though. And Snow Tsunami are only scaling up as this game goes on.
It's because their siege is a little bit weak. You really need to get Ringo in range to start the siege happening, but you just have so many ranged heroes here for Snow Tsunami that they're just able to continuously look to clear waves. You know, Death from Above, Full Barrage, Glimmer Shot, all of these things are very good at starting to chunk these minion waves down. You almost feel like you need to start maybe adding minion candies to the mix here, or even starting to look to force fights around the global objectives. Goldmine, I think, next will be a huge impact factor, but remember, we've also got Kraken spawning in just over a minute and a half. So I think this will be a big point for Rising Lotus to try and work on, because right now their classic tactic of sieging hasn't gone particularly to plan. Got a little bit of time to work here, though, as Snow Tsunami start to work around.
Death from Above comes down, going to catch out Justman. Keanu's taking a lot of pain. Araxi was the target of the Impale. One shot, one kill's going to land onto Justman. There's the Imperial Citrus, keep him alive. And now PT Lamb trying to forward barrage him in, but will be able to get away. And Rising Lotus survive. They still haven't got that turret. They still have looking for the aggressive plays, though. Nice active camo from Araxi to keep himself alive. No Impale coming out from Lure. Going to see if he can reposition off towards the side here. Justman taking a lot of damage from the forward barrage. Hellfire Brew has been used. Scoundrel, can you believe it? PT Lamb blocks it. Doesn't really do enough damage there. Rising Lotus will have to back away for now.
I could believe it because I saw it that time. I wasn't preemptively deciding that Ringo decided to need to drink some of his brew. Does mean they're going to have the option to now go straight onto the gold mine here, given how well they managed to siege against Rising Lotus and put the pressure down. Gold mine, no.
Justman steals! I called it, what a god. Steals it with an auto attack. Lure's going to be able to get away from this one as well. Full barrage onto Justman, one shot, one kill, not enough. And Rising Lotus steal the gold mine and get away with their lives.
Yeah, they need to make sure they make something of that, though. You know, stealing the gold mine is all well and good, but what does it gain you? You're still behind.
Well, it gains you 900 gold, Scoundrel.
Yes. I realise what it literally gains you, Sona. Thank you very much for highlighting that point to me. But I mean, in terms of your game plan, I mean, are items the key for you here? Is the gold the really important thing, or do you need to start thinking about trying to get some pressure on the turrets so that at least you can open up the Snow Tsunami side of the map? I think that the best thing for you to do is look for options in the jungle to fight around, because you need to start thinking about where you can land impales, where you can try and catch out members of Snow Tsunami, because this triple range is tearing you apart right now.
It definitely is. However, Rising Lotus have shown us in previous fights that they can win out these fights if they land a good Impale into Hellfire Brew. The question is whether they can do that consistently enough for them to be able to beat Snow Tsunami, especially around a Kraken fight like this, which is where it's all going to come down to. Lur's looking for it. PT Lamb takes a bit of pain. Here comes the Impale onto Sissiska and Araxi. Keanu trying to get those broken mid stacks off from the side. Right, Bulwark comes down as well. Good fountain. Keanu with the Hellfire Brew's going to land onto PT Lamb, but it's blocked. Look how much damage he took though. Sissiska with the Impale once again. Burst comes out. Sissiska gets taken down, and now Rising Lotus is going to look for the fight. PT Lamb is dead.
Kraken's doing so much
taken
work.
out by Kraken. Gets away with the active camo, but there's the arcane passage for the chase. Keanu and Lure are looking for the chase once again. The Impale comes out. It's an ace for Rising Lotus. They'll take the game. They'll take the game. They'll take the fight, and they can look for the Kraken as well after taking this turret.
No turrets down. That's game, boys.
It's TSM special.
No, I think the most important part there was Lur's timing for his Impale. He saw one kill came out, and suddenly the Impale straight through. That's a static Kestrel, easy target. You know that he's not going to be using active camo anytime soon. So it was such a crucial Impale by Lur. And I think, is this something that teams have continuously done? They haven't totally respected what Lance can do. And like I said, he's the linchpin, I would say, for Rising Lotus here, because if he can land those skill shots like Impale, that sets up such a solid team fight for Rising Lotus going forward. You know, that means that suddenly the all of the focus comes on to Lur, which means then you take all the focus off Ringo. It means that a good Hellfire Brew can be made. You know, and using Hellfire Brew can be such a tricky thing to pull off correctly, because you make yourself so static during that period of time. Actually, a good Death from Above comes through, and actually Keanu takes a large portion of damage there.
Yeah, Keanu hasn't actually got any defense apart from his reflex block, so really reliant on Lure as that front line and Just Man for the heals from the Imperial Sigil as well. Kraken's going to push in towards this second turret of the push. They're going to see if they can take this down. Should be able to get it before that Kraken falls, and they'll just back away now. They get 3 turrets off that push, or off the ace, including the 2 taken down by Kraken. So Rising Lotus now probably going to end up about 1,000 gold in the lead when all is said and done.
Yeah, and we'll have to look at some itemization as well, Sona, because the Lance has stopped at just double weapon power, and look how much he's investing now into vision. You know, he's really coming down that vision path, and that's crucial to note, because vision is what I think is going to give Rising Lotus a serious edge now going forward. I mean, they now control the jungle. You know, they had that fight around Kraken that gives them that mental advantage that the jungle is where they reign supreme. Now, having good vision of the jungle means that means Lur can try and make picks, surprise Lance, the joke poke that lands out of the brush and secures the fight for Rising Lotus. That could be super important from now on.
It definitely could, and Sissiska will get spotted out there once again. It looks like Araxi's gone for a minion's foot just to complete his itemization build. He's got Tornado Trigger, something we haven't talked about yet, alongside that Sorrow Blade, so really looking for that consistent auto-attack harass. Minion's foot, of course, does give you that little bit of crit off your first auto-attack, so maybe trying to get that onto Keanu could really melt him down effectively if they can get it on the right target. Kraken up very soon. Rising Lotus pushed back out of the Snow Tsunami jungle here for a second. However, they do have double minion mines, and they're picking up infusions for themselves. Keanu's going to step forward, look, see what he can do off towards the side. Here comes Lure as well. Going to try and get onto Sissiska. The Impale lands, but it's only onto the Adagio. Githian wall away. Here comes the Hellfire Brew from Keanu. It's onto Sissiska, and he's going to burn to death. And now PT Lamb jumps in. Lure solo. There's the fountain coming out from Keanu, from Justman, sorry. And
look at the damage.
Araxi gets stunned up in the active camo, and now Rising Lotus can just chase down PT Lamb. It's all up to the sky, but he can't do anything. It's an ace and a triple kill for Keanu, and Rising Lotus should be able to take Crystal off this one.
Yeah, they should be able to take the Crystal off this one and take the game and the series against Snow Tsunami. Rising Lotus look a revamped, revitalized roster, and they have a real chance here in the Evil 8 this split. I am so excited to see what they can do as this game and series progresses. They're going to take the Vein Crystal. Snow Tsunami left once again, melting at the sidelines. Rising Lotus in full blue.
I can't believe it, actually. Rising Lotus gone from a team at Summer Live Championships who really didn't perform. Yes, it is a different roster. This is the roster, of course, that got them known as a great team. They've done a great job, you know? They've got back into it. We'll see them tomorrow again, playing up against, I want to say, I don't remember which team it is. It's Rising Lotus is the winner of the next game, so that's Snow Avalanche versus G2. That's going to be a really good one as well, actually. Avalanche coming off their